Time now to join Frank O'Callaghan for the next instalment of the series Dundalk's Radio and Television People. Part 14. Stephanie Comiskey, Ní McCann and Noel McCann recall stories about their father Jack McCann, who was a cycle, electrical, radio and television dealer from his shop in 22 Clonbrassil Street. Jack was an agent for Raleigh, Rudge, RSA and Ray Cycles and an agent for Pye, Bush and Phillips TV and Radio. We hear how he learned his bicycle trade in Bates, London, England and was a founder member of the Cuchulainn Cycling Club.
You are listening to our programme Dundalk's TV and Radio People on Dundalk FM, and I'm delighted to welcome to the studio tonight Stephanie Comiskey and Noel McCann. They are the children, or some of the children, of Jack McCann, the TV dealer, and he's the person in the family we're going to talk about tonight. You're both very welcome to the programme, and thank you indeed for turning up. I did not realise, Stephanie, that notwithstanding the fact that you're a neighbour and two of your sisters are neighbours, I never realised until the last couple of weeks that you were Jack McCann's daughters. And you know, I've known you a long time too, and I also never realised you were a son of Jack McCann. So my apologies for that little error on my part. So just to begin with, to be sure we cover everybody here, Stephanie, just give her the names of your siblings.
Breda, Maureen, John, Stephanie, Evelyn, Noel, Bernadette, Aidan, Paul.
A large family.
Yeah.
9.
Am I right in thinking John also had a TV shop at one stage?
He had, yeah.
We'll come back to John in a few minutes. Tell me, either of you or both of you, tell me a little bit of your dad's background before he got into business, when he was a younger person growing up, or whatever your stories are in that general area.
Well, he was a keen cyclist. And then he worked in across the road in Cavendish's. That was a bakery at one stage. And he worked in there, and he decided then that he might try and further his career in cycling. So there was a company in London called Bates that made racing bikes for the racing in England. So he applied over there for a job, went over, got the interview, and he got the job. And that's how he furthered himself at the.
Do I take it that he got the job working, building bicycles,
yeah,
manufacturing
building bicycles from the rare steel up to the present thing. And he said there was people from Wales, Scotland, England, the whole lot working there. So he got a full...
A big factory, was it?
Big factory, yeah. Yeah.
How many
yeah.
people were employed in it?
I don't know how many,
Like
but
hundreds?
it was... I'd say so, yeah. Yeah.
Sounds it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I presume he came back to Ireland.
He came back to Ireland, then he set up his own business.
How did he manage, or what was the sequence of events that brought him back here?
Well, he left England before... he just had his time done, and he decided to move back, you know. So it was just, there was... I think war was imminent with Germany, and he'd kind of come back on holiday before that, and then he didn't return because of the war, you know.
Did he get permission to leave the country or anything of that nature?
Well, he would have had... He got a note from his employer to say that he was going home on holidays, he'd be coming back. So that was acceptable.
That covered him for getting out in case they thought he was...
not getting out, but just going home for holiday.
Yeah, going home, of course.
I know what you mean, yeah.
He was involved in, led to believe, in the Cuchulainn Cycling Club, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was one of the founder members of it.
Way back in the day, because I'm looking at a photograph of him here, and he has a load of very impressive looking trophies.
Yes,
was he good?
Yeah. He was good at cycling, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, though, that he was good at cycling, but he was involved in a race, and he was coming from, I think it was Drogheda to Dundalk, and he had a fall off the bicycle, and he got an injury to his back, and I think that kind of put an end to his racing days.
Just a matter of interest, there's another company where we're featuring on one of the programmes called WP Baldwin. They were from Bridge Street. I have the photograph here way back in 1937, and this gentleman Baldwin, he was also a member of the original group out in Cuchulainn Cycling Club. So there's a relationship between, two shops in Dundalk. Naturally enough, they were all the Dundalk lads, but two people that we've come across in the programme who were involved in the setting up of Cuchulainn Cycling Club. But Stephanie, I have a lovely photograph here that you give me of the shop. You worked in the shop for a period of time.
For a few years, yeah.
How did you find it? What did you do?
Yes, well, I was kind of office staff at the beginning and sales. And we sold everything at that time, from irons, tape recorders, radios, televisions, fridges, all types of electrical stuff that we sold, and bikes. And at that time when I was in, we also had classical records. There was a cabinet, which was a brown cabinet, and there was classical music in it, which is probably one of the reasons why Daddy liked classical music. And I like classical music myself, you know, but it was nearly all that type of music that was.
You mentioned before that when people come in, it wasn't necessarily always to buy a new product, it was to
Oh, no, it wasn't.
repair.
It was, yeah, at that time you could.
Can you give me an example of what they might have taken back in?
Yeah, they would take back in irons, and an element would be put in the iron to fix it, or maybe a new lead as well. And the same with toasters. You could get elements for toasters.
So a large element of the business was the repair side of it.
There was the repair side.
Because it
and
was probably cheaper to repair than buy a new one.
Oh, it wasn't. Well, people just thought at that time of getting the thing repaired, yeah. You know?
In your photograph, which is quite excellent actually, the next door neighbour is Stewart's. We all remember Stewart's. And if my memory serves me right, I'm showing my age here, but Stewart's was one of the Stewart's, either of you, involved in a group called the Distant Cousins.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that
Maybe
was
Noel,
Dougie.
you know.
Dougie Stewart.
Yeah,
He
Dougie
was
was a drummer.
Yeah,
Dougie, and he was involved in Distant Cousins. And I think that Barry McGuigan's father, Pat McGuigan, but he went under Pat McGeegan, and he was involved in that group as well.
represented Ireland in the Eurovision.
He did, yeah. He went on to, and him. I don't know the other members of the band,
Well,
but
I'm gonna go
Dougie
out
was a great
I'm going to
musician.
go out on a limb here. Is there any chance that Charlie Flynn from Bridge Street was a member of the band, one of the painters?
I can't tell you there, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And would I be right in thinking that they were on, was it the Huey Green programme?
That's right, yeah.
Opportunity Knocks.
Opportunity Knocks.
Do you remember the occasion?
Yeah, I do indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Describe
Everybody
it.
voted for them in Ireland. I think.
Yeah, they still didn't win. Yeah,
No.
I think they were announced as coming fourth, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah,
I didn't know that incidentally, and we were talking here earlier.
Yeah.
They finished fourth.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if
They're
that.
very good,
if
actually.
They were good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think they used to play in the ballroom, the Adelphi ballroom, before the big band would come on, the Royal Show Band and the Capital Show Band and all those people. Noel, you mentioned too maybe that was it your grandfather came from Wigan?
Yeah, they would have originated from Wigan in England, and they came over here to work in the shoe factories. As far as that's what
You
I
mean
can
when
recall.
Rawson's or some of these companies came
Yeah,
over?
When Clark set up, they decided to send people over to train and that's how some of them came here. So I don't
So
know.
moving on down the line then, how did Jack get involved in business as such?
Well, I think it started off really with bicycles. I think it started off with his father's shop. He was doing the clogs and that, and then his father died. Well, it was shoes at the time where people now would get leather, or people now buy new shoes. It's very seldom somebody will leave in shoes to get soles or heels on them. But at that time, to make the shoes last longer, he would make wooden soles. So they sounded like clogs. So he was known as the Clogs McCann that time.
You wouldn't remember them selling clogs, would you?
I don't remember
No,
them
the
at
clog
all. I
shop.
don't
Was it
remember
called the
seeing
clog
them.
shop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Daddy started up the bicycle shop then, But I think when he started up the bicycle shop, he could build a bicycle from the beginning. He had a stand where he could build a wheel. He had spokes, the screws.
Authentic in terms of the component parts rather than just selling a finished bicycle.
Yeah, he could build. People still came into the shop if they had an accident with a bike or something and their wheel was twisted.
Yeah.
He could build them a new wheel.
He was authentic, you see, as you said, Noel. He came from the background of manufacturing.
The bike, but it's funny you mentioned building a wheel. I don't know. Mark Deary wrote an article about him, and Jim had the shop in Clonbrassil Street. You remember Jim Deary's shop?
Oh, the clothes shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was Jim used to lock up the shop every evening at 6 o'clock, and he'd walk by our shop. My father would be inside building a wheel, and he'd always come in. Maybe some evenings he'd come in for a chat, and then he'd go home. So in December 1975, I remember it well, Jim locked up his shop at 6 o'clock in the evening. It was Mark told this story, I didn't know about it, but he was walking up the street and he looked in and he saw my father building a wheel. So he came inside and my father said to him, Jim, it's your time to build a wheel now. He says, he says, here you are. Grabbed the wheel. And the two of them were in the process of making the wheel, and then, of course, a bomb went off at the square. Really? Do you remember the famous bomb in Crow Street?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Mark told the story that they were all at home in the house. They lived down beside St. Vincent's, and they came out on the street. They could see nothing but smoke and the whole lot. And then they thought, oh, where's Dad?
Should be walking home.
He'd be walking home. So they reckon that just at the time, if he hadn't pulled into the shop for a chat, just at that time he would have been walking around the corner at Crow Street, and he would have been right beside the bomb.
That's some story. So effectively, Jack McCann and the manufacturer of a wheel
Yes.
could very well have saved the life
And
of
it was
Jim
Mark
Geary.
actually wrote that story there. Somebody sent it to me, said that he'd, and I saw Jim recently in Dunn's Stores. He's a big age, but he's still very well.
He is. I've seen him
Yeah,
recently myself too. He's a big age, but going
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah,
Yeah, carries
yeah.
himself well.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
And I think you can take it if Mark wrote the story. It's probably
Yeah.
very close to the truth.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Something you should be very proud of. Your dad
Oh, yeah,
saved
yeah.
it.
Well, yeah.
Probably
But
saved the
I didn't
life
know
of-
about that until he'd written
No,
about it.
that's-
Somebody
that's
sent it to
what
me,
happens.
actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's...
And now more people listening to this program
Yeah.
will realise what happened. You see, and again, that's the value of programs of this nature, because stories of like that go
Yeah.
out into the general public, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Jack McCann's a hero again.
Oh, well,
Not just back on the bicycle, Stephanie. He's
saving lives.
Well, Daddy, as well as that, some people would think he was slightly, they used to say, your father's very wicked looking. When I go in, he'd give out to me about the bike. But Daddy would have a way of saying if somebody came in and their chain broke, he would automatically say to them, sure, you didn't oil it. How would you expect it
You
to
see, he was a
last?
bicycle man more
You
than a
have
human
to
person.
oil it.
Yeah.
So he would be giving people kind of things like that. So everybody knew him coming in and out, and he knew quite a lot of things. He was very... There was also bicycle races. Do you remember a race called on Toastal, I think? it
I've
was
seen
called?
photographs, but I don't go back that
It
far.
was tricycle racing
Yeah.
in Seatown Place.
Yeah.
And I remember them running those races because I was in one of the tricycle races. And I think I only got second because somebody came out. But I had a photograph of the prize going up. I thought it was a guitar. I was winning. It was a tennis racket.
You on a McCann bicycle.
And, well, tricycles, I'm sure it was. And Daddy had it stripped back to everything, But Evelyn, a sister, she was riding as well. And Daddy had given one of the star prizes of a bicycle for whoever won the race. And Evelyn won the race. So she got the new bike.
He kept it in the family. Yeah.
So everybody was saying, are you going to get to keep the bike, or they'll think it's, But she did win the race, So things like that were all organised,
No,
So
very good.
you enjoyed those things.
Did you mention your dad had an accident on the bicycle?
He did, yeah.
How bad was the accident?
It was bad.
He got a very bad back injury and then stomach, I think. He underwent a few operations after that for...
He had to have half of his stomach removed.
Yeah.
As a consequence of the
Yeah,
bicycle?
Yeah.
Sad, yeah.
Came off it, yeah.
So, but we have loads of, I have some of his medals at home. I think it was 1937 or something that was on it that he has for racing. He was a very good, I think in one year they said he won, it's in one of the paper clips there, I think he won 5 different grass races, with the, yeah.
Well, I have two questions for you now, in case I forget them. Come back just for a moment to that on Toastal. What sort of crowds were out for that event? Crowds, the people who...
The crowds would be full, a Seatown Place would be...
Like hundreds of people.
Oh yeah, you would get lots of people. The crowds were there. I think so. There was quite a lot of things run in the town when the festivals were on too. There was, I remember they'd have the barman's races running with trays and glasses and, quite a lot of stuff like that. There was,
The barrel race, the barrel race between the two breweries.
That's right.
Could be quite vicious if the barrel came off the street.
Yeah, and people...
The shopkeepers race in Park Street.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't remember that one,
Yeah,
actually.
remember that one, yeah.
Yeah, so there was quite a lot of different...
I'm going to take you back, Stephanie, to what you said about the athletic grounds and the racing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about that?
No, I don't at
I
all.
remember a little bit. See if we can shake the brain here. There was Tom Conlon. You
No.
said your dad, Jack McCann, cycled in them.
Yeah.
There was a race called Devil Take the Hindmost,
Yeah.
And these were fixed wheel bicycles.
Yeah,
Not right, no.
Yeah, that's
they
right.
They weren't like, you couldn't slow up on them. You
You
had to
keep
go.
going.
And the way the race ran was, let's say you had 12 people in the race. So there was 13 laps, and the first lap was just a free lap.
That's right, yeah.
But you remember it?
Yeah, I remember the last person is out then.
The last person in every lap was out. So
Yeah.
if you were last on this lap, you went out. If you were last on the next lap, you went out until it came to 2 people. And I can tell you, I knew a guy, I was very young at the time, but I had great admiration for him. His name was Nicky McCardle. Yeah. And Nicky was a superb, him and Tom Condon, if I remember. I think Tom was from Stabannon or somewhere. These 2 lads used to go around the athletic grounds like a million miles an hour. They were fabulous, you know, and the place packed, as you said about on Tostal, the place packed with people, you know. There were great days and great sporting occasions.
Yeah.
But back to your dad.
The only thing I remember was at the athletic grounds that was on the Rampart.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And those, I remember Daddy saying to me, were the best grounds ever, because they were properly done with ash, properly drained. And I remember Daddy saying to me, that's the best ground, he said, there is. Doesn't flood, no water, it's the best thing. And then a factory was coming to town, and they were looking somewhere to build a factory. And somebody said, oh, that's the best spot for us. Yeah. And Daddy was saying, oh, you couldn't build something on that. Well, if we don't get the ground, we won't build. We'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
Clark's,
he said...
Yeah, Clark's. Yeah.
So he said the shoe factory
was built
because it was bringing work and that, and they built it on that. And he said you never would have got a ground as good as that again. He said it was the best.
Yeah, there's a lot behind
pitch
what
ever.
you're saying, actually, because I remember the Christian Brothers Sports there,
Yes.
where we used to all line up and do demonstrations at the end.
Yeah.
I remember there was Gaelic football played there.
Yeah.
Dundalk Football Club played there.
Yeah.
Dundalk Rugby Club played there.
Yes.
There was the sports, and I remember athletes from the far side of the country coming over for phenomenal races.
Yes.
And again, the crowd, as you
massive
said,
crowds,
Stephanie, was
It was.
it was superb, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he said that was it.
Looking at the screen here, I have an invoice raised by Jack McCann in 1969. You can have a look at later. But very interestingly, there's a football programme here from a match between Dundalk and Liverpool that was played in 1960. No, it wasn't. It was played in 1980. Had to move the glasses there for a minute. And there's a lovely photograph inside, an ad for Jack McCann selling their Nordmendy television.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about that era?
Yeah, Normandy. It was Reynolds Electronics.
He did an awful lot of television sets at the time. He was a pie trader for that. Phillips, Bush,
GC in Dunleer.
GC in Dunleer.
Pilot
Yeah.
and Pie.
Phillips.
Yeah. But was he involved in football in any way?
Yeah, he was on the board of directors of Dundalk Football Club back in the 60s, around when Alan Fox took over.
Oh, that's when they turned the pitch round from one way to
Yeah,
another.
yeah, and that was, those years were very successful.
Absolutely.
So he was on the board that time. Tom McGrath, who was the manager of Backhouses next door, encouraged him to join, so he joined. So
meaning I want your money.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, they used to go on some trips abroad. You know, when Dundalk were playing, they all had the Blazers and the whole thing. They all went.
Masters of Budapest. That was one of the matches, and
that was the first match on the lights in Oriel Park.
Yeah,
wasn't it? That European Cup match. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember he told the story that they went to Budapest.
But
before the game, Alan Fox was interviewed to see it was 1-0 to Vastas here in Oriel Park, and when Alan Fox was interviewed, he said that he thought Vastas would be a better team than they were. So, of course, this was all over the papers, and the chap in the hotel told him, "I'm afraid you're going to get slaughtered tonight, because they're looking for blood." So, I think they beat Dundalk. They scored 1 and then Dundalk equalised, but then they scored 8 more goals.
Is that where it ended up?
And every time Vastas scored, everybody lit their cigarette lighter, lit the stadium up with and then they'd blow it out and that.
Lovely story.
So,
yeah.
as the fella said, it was a bad night for Dundalk,
Well, I remember Daddy talking about we were on the tour bus as well, coming back from.
It was communist control that time, Hungary.
Oh, I think so,
Yeah. But he said they were coming back on the bus, and he said, of course, over there you couldn't really, if there was more than 3 people, it was, that wouldn't be allowed. But he said they were all on the bus coming back, and they were singing and they were singing out loud. He says next thing the bus was surrounded by police and everything, he said, and they stopped the bus and pulled the bus in. But he said the guide tour that was with them, you know, there was a girl on the bus that was, she just got off the bus and she was talking away and explaining. So she probably said with the football and the one that, and these are Irish or whatever, and I've no control. So, okay, so they went off and let them go.
Get rid of them, yeah. They didn't understand the joviality. Sorry, no.
Well, I was going to say, they were staying in a hotel, and across the road, he said they used to notice these big limousines pulling up at night, and these fellas in uniforms, Russian uniforms, getting out and going into this place, you know. And Dad, having lived in London, everywhere was the same, you know. So anyway, he decided to go out one night. So he walked across the road, and this place was a door at the front of it. There was like a little window on it. So he went over and he started looking in the window. When he looked in the window, this soldier was looking out at him, you know. Came out and he started jesting with him. So he pointed to the thing, and he told him, "Oh, okay, off you go." You know, it was some Russian officers' club.
Of course it was, yeah.
And they were all meeting there.
We won't ask you the detail about it, you know, but happy days.
Yeah.
You mentioned that your brother John had a television business. Was that in Stapleton Place?
Yes.
Yeah. How long had he that business, or how did that work out?
He had it for about 10 years, was it?
Yeah.
Roughly
it's around
about 10
that,
years he had it. He was doing the TV in the shop with Daddy, and then he decided to go out and do the television himself then.
And then how did your dad's shop, how did it end up being a television shop? What happened at the end of his...
Well, I think at the time Daddy was just doing all of the bikes, and then it was just the bikes and the TV. And I think then the TV got very big, you know, because there was rental TVs then came in, and that was a big thing round the town in hotels and in, you know, a whole lot of big places. It became a big business. So John took that out then himself. And Daddy liked the bikes, you know. I think the bikes were more of his thing than...
He stuck with the bicycles up to the
He stuck with the bikes then in town, and he liked the customers. And there used to be races round the town as well. I remember a few people coming, some of the locals like Cyril Rooney, there was Jack Murphy, there was Shea O'Hanlon, I remember his name, because Daddy would be going out with those, and he would be in the car and he would have to time them. So I remember us being very small, and Daddy had a Fiat car where the back went up. So we'd be all sitting faced out in the back of the car, because we'd love to go to see the bikes, and they'd be getting ready to time, and Paddy Joe Duffy would be in with the front with Daddy, you know, okay, let's go, it's time for the race, we're timing this. And they'd be flying, and we'd be sitting in the back laughing. I suppose we'd say, "Oh, we're coming to a hill." You know, you could see the strain on their face. It's like, but races went on all the time in the town as well.
The first two names you mentioned there, Cyril and Jack, they were local lads.
Oh, they were, yeah.
But you mentioned the name Carl O'Hanlon.
They still go out riding,
really?
Like they still have that,
haven't seen either of them
and
about.
Kevin Dolan was another one,
indeed,
and Sean Duffy. You know,
Sean.
there was a whole lot, and John did a bit of racing himself.
But you mentioned the name Carl O'Hanlon.
Yeah, Shea O'Hanlon.
Well, to me,
he was
my
from
memory,
Dublin.
He was from Dublin, but he was an outstanding athlete.
Oh, he was, yeah.
He represented Ireland all over the place, didn't he?
Yeah.
There was a race in Dundalk, and it started off down at St Vincent's School, and then they went up around the course, you know, the Carrick Road, and came around by Knockbridge. And of course, everybody was getting ready, and of course, down the road comes Shea O'Hanlon in the car. And my father was there, ready to start the race off, and she said, "How is Jack? How's it going? I'll be out in a few minutes, you know." And he said, "The race is starting at 2:00, Shea." "All right," he says, "but sure, I have to get ready." "Yeah, okay." But he says, the guards said they'll mind the road for that time when the race, but after that, Shea says, "Okay, right." So Shea went in and changed, and when he came outside, everybody was gone. And he said, "Where are they gone?" He says, "They're after taking off." So he had to go up Park Street, up onto the Carrick Road, catch them. But anyway, needless to say...
On his bicycle?
Yeah, on the bike, flying after them anyway. But eventually he caught up, and of course, he won the race, you know.
Yeah.
And he said to my father after the race, he says, "Can I have a word?" He says, "You know, you didn't give me any time." He says, "I said 2:00, he says. So it went off at 2:00. And he was talking to Shay after the race, and then he said to Shay, do you have a problem with your wheels on your bike? And Shay says, what do you mean? Are you breaking many spokes? Yeah, he says, I normally break 1 or 2 in every race. And he says to Shay, right, the wheel's built wrong, he says. He says, it's built wrong. He says, yeah, it's built wrong.
And Jack recognised that?
Yeah, he recognised that.
Oh, yeah, he could.
And she says, right. And so Shay came down and built a wheel for Shay. I remember meeting Shay later on. He says, well, how are the wheels? I haven't broken a spoke since, he says. And that was it. So Shay went round that day when all the bikes were outside, and he says, your wheel's built wrong. That's built wrong. And he started going round.
He was the expert.
He
was
was.
it?
That was the first of 2 programmes featuring Noel and Stephanie talking about their father Jack McCann and his electrical and cycling shop in Clanbrassil Street.